What I actually mean by that, and again, I suppose, hopefully not much of a surprise to the people who do the practice, is the recognition that it is utilizing the sexual impulse, so to speak, the sexual energy that we have, as the focus of meditation. And this came up a lot when we were doing our papers, because we felt like we needed to explain this to the world of people who are not familiar with orgasmic meditation. And we said, well, look, there are lots of practices that utilize physiological processes of the body. The most common one is the breath. And so many practices in meditation tell you to focus your attention on your breathing. Some ask you to focus your attention on what you're smelling. There are walking meditations where you sort of take in the visual inputs of the world around you, and you focus on that. There's in the world of mindfulness, there's the body scan, and you focus on what your body feels. So part of it is that it really shouldn't be that unusual of a concept to focus on a physiological process of the body. But in this particular case, the reason I call it a hybrid practice is that it is taking advantage of this sexual element. And when we looked at the other brain scans, especially during the practice itself, we see some areas of the brain that seem to be active, that are part of the areas of the brain that are involved in sexual perception, the sexual sensations. However, what to me was very interesting and distinct about this practice is that if you were to look at studies where they just look at sexual stimulation, and people have done that, then not all, but many of the areas of the brain sort of keep becoming more and more active until you get to the moment of climax, or orgasm itself, where everything then drops down. What's different about this practice, and I was very intrigued by it from the outset, is that because you're talking about not actually, or at least that's not the goal, is to have the climax, that these higher areas of the brain, the parietal lobe, the frontal lobe, seem to be quieting down before you get to that kind of state. So that in and of itself is kind of interesting, because that is more what we see in a more, quote unquote, traditional meditation practice, where you're just concentrating on an object or an image, or you might be focusing on your breath. So there seems to be some elements with which we are seeing evidence of the sexual stimulation be part of the process, but you're also seeing it be more like a traditional kind of meditation practice, which leads me to make that statement that I think it's a bit of a hybrid. I mean, arguably speaking, they're all hybrid practices, because they all, utilize these different rhythms and sensory processes. Nothing is completely devoid of the combination, but it's certainly a hybrid of sexuality and spirituality in that context.